Prometheus is it's a good movie that aims high and doesn't quite reach everything that it's going for. There's a lot to admire about it though. The personalities and the beliefs that these characters have directly relate to the themes and the plot of the movie. Where in Alien Covenant, it almost feels like you could just swap out these characters with different actors with different motivations, with different backstories, and it wouldn't change a whole lot. Because a lot of the themes in Prometheus are kind of dropped in lieu of a more traditional alien story.
I think one of the problems with Covenant is its lack of subtlety. He literally, in the very beginning of the movie, gets his name David by looking at the literal statue of David. Yeah, it kind of feels like when they do Solo, a Star Wars story, and they have to explain how he got everything. Where they have to see David, what's your name, David? Looks at statue of David, David. You know, or it's like Han Solo being named because he was alone.
Solo.
It's very surface level, and people complain that Prometheus isn't actually that deep, but compared to Alien Covenant, I think it certainly is.
Yeah, Prometheus is a movie that it doesn't tell you all of the answers. It does make you think a little bit. Alien Covenant is one that it pretty much tells you everything that you need to know. Either very obvious metaphors and allusions or just directly telling you. In relation to David, it does bring him down a bit in terms of how interesting he is to me.
David is definitely the most interesting character in Covenant and Prometheus, I think. But the way he's handled in Prometheus versus in Covenant is a night and day difference for me in terms of the nuance and the subtlety of the character. Because you could realistically make an argument in Prometheus that David has no free will and that he's doing everything on orders of Wayland. Probably his biggest moment in the movie when he spikes the drink with the black goo. Right before that scene is when he has a conversation with who we later learn is Wayland still alive, where Wayland, it seems, is ordering him to do whatever is necessary.
He said, try harder.
He doesn't seem to care about Wayland's well-being, but everything in the movie, you could argue he's following exactly what he's supposed to do.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I think in Covenant, he just has become insane. It makes sense to a certain extent where he no longer has Wayland to order him around to control him, and he's truly free.
What happens when Wayland's not around to program you anymore?
I suppose I'd be free.
Yeah, he's been alone for a decade too.
Yeah, but to me, it's taken to such a degree where it doesn't feel like the same character even.
I think part of that was to help additionally differentiate between him and Walter. He's a blank slate. In some ways, though, he does feel more like David from Prometheus than David in Alien Covenant does.
Yes, yeah. Shaw returns as a corpse that David apparently, the movie implies, is used her DNA to create the aliens. Was Shaw's inclusion in the movie satisfying at all to you?
Oh no, not at all. They did Shaw dirty in this movie. Going from the end of Prometheus to immediately into Alien Covenant, even with everyone on the crew of the Prometheus in the first one dead, she's still hopeful in a way.
Where's my cross?
Even after all this, you still believe, don't you?
And fascinated by the mystery of learning why the engineers, their creators, hate them.
They changed their minds. I deserve to know why.
We never find out why.
Yeah, we never find out why. All the engineers are wiped out. She dies without ever learning herself, and we never learn, which is incredibly unsatisfying.
What I found particularly strange, though, was they introduced that David was apparently in love with Shaw, which is not something we ever get the sense of in Prometheus.
No, not at all.
it just doesn't seem like he would be fascinated by a human who he himself, one of his major philosophies is that humanity kind of sucks and that their creations, him and androids, are superior. Him kissing Daniels felt really weird because that newly introduced thing about David and love has nothing to do with the themes the movie explores about David or anything larger. It's not this kind of thing where David feels like, oh, I'm trapped as a machine and I'll never be able to truly experience love and life. And that's all I want. I want to be able to feel and I want to be like a real person. He doesn't. He doesn't care about that. So it's just weird that he has any impulse to kiss her. It just seems like they went, okay, well, how can we make David creepy? What if we make him a rapist as well? Okay, yeah.
That's just another entry into the Alien Covenant is not very subtle list, because
Yeah.
that that's a good way to make him more villainous. He is so much more villainous in this movie than he is in Prometheus.
Well, we did David. So the other important shift in this movie is the fact that it is now almost entirely about the alien. Do you think that that was a good decision?
I think there could have been a way to make that interesting, but the way that they do it, and especially the execution of the alien itself, is not satisfying in a way that it's not a good sequel to Prometheus or a good sequel to Alien. It tries to cut out as much from Prometheus as narratively makes any sense. They kill off, as far as we're aware, the entirety of the engineered species in a flashback, and that it to me that just shows that they're actively trying to distance themselves from Prometheus as much as possible.
I mean, I think it was a very conscious decision because you have 5 years of people complaining that the alien wasn't in the movie and we want to see the alien. We don't want any of this. I honestly think that that was what Prometheus was supposed to be, was to
Mm-hmm.
take the alien universe and go in a completely different direction. And I think Prometheus was him playing it safe. Okay, we got the same kind of ship that we saw in Alien, and oh, they're kind of alien-esque creatures, and this was probably like the last foot in the door before he could go off and tell the story about these ancient beings and engineers that created us, and let's fully explore that. And Prometheus was supposed to be that last little taste of Alien before we go off on this new adventure. And then it turned out to be the exact opposite.
The aliens being the focus of this movie feels so wrong when the aliens are the least interesting part. The xenomorph in this movie is not scary at all on any level other than it rips people apart in a mess of blood and gore. It doesn't have that same creepiness to it in all these in the other ones where it's stalking you in the dark and you don't know where it is. They actually show the alien's perspective through alien vision or something in sections of the end of the film, and it's not as scary when you know where the alien is and you see where it's looking.
I have a feeling that the reason why Ridley Scott probably wanted to do Prometheus and take the series in a new direction was because you've done the alien several times and it's not particularly scary anymore. In part because you know what it looks like and you know how it functions. The mystery of the alien, which is what is this thing? Why is it doing what it's doing? Isn't compelling anymore because you know the answers.
The title Alien works on a few different levels. It literally being an alien from another world, and it also the movie has this the fear of the unknown that is the alien of it, whatever its motivations are, or how it operates, or how it's going to kill you, or how it reproduces. We know all those things almost entirely now. That fear of the unknown that the original Alien and Aliens had is not there anymore. Knowing how Alien Covenant was going and how it was kind of returning to that original um, Aliens feel, supposedly, I was surprised we didn't see Daniels hop into the power loader and fight the alien. I was once they walked into that vehicle hangar, I was almost sure we were gonna see that.
This is why the Alien franchise is just so done. Is Alien, you defeat the alien by blowing it out into space into the airlock. Aliens, you defeat the bigger alien by blowing it out of space into the airlock. Alien Covenant, you just blow it out of space into the airlock. It's the same thing every time. They end up defeating the alien just by throwing it out into space. These movies are starting to just feel like remakes of each other. One thing I want to talk about is I think there's a lot of great environmental storytelling in Prometheus that is completely absent in Alien Covenant. When David activates that hologram in the pilot's room, and you see the hologram of the engineer come up, and it uses the flute, and he's just watching this entire thing. Then you see that galaxy map come up, and Earth is selected, and David is just wandering kind of in awe of this, and he picks up Earth, and it's clearly the destination just by watching this hologram display where no character says a single word. There's no scene like that hologram scene in Alien Covenant. It doesn't feel like there's any moment like that where you learn just by watching what's going on and looking at the environment. Covenant just feels like none of this stuff was thought out. Oh, we need a stone temple. Okay, this is the stone temple. But you don't really learn much about the history of the engineers just from observing the environment in Covenant.
The world in Alien Covenant is not. It feels like you could replace a lot of the elements in it. Similar with, like I was talking about with the characters in Alien Covenant. There's so many elements that don't contribute towards the main plot and themes and story. It makes a story feel less cohesive. Prometheus, it tackles a lot of things at a lot of angles. It feels like this cohesive world.
I want to know your thoughts on the scene when the alien bursts out of the captain's stomach and David holds his hands up and the alien also holds its hand up.
Oh my god, that was...
Was that subtle enough for you?
I was laughing my ass off. The music playing over that scene, I think it's supposed to give some sense of like awe or disgust or horror.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what it's supposed to be doing. Yeah, but it was just hilarious. I think he was T-posing.
I think it was a crucifix pose, Mikey. It's very symbolic of it's rebirth and Jesus, and yeah.
It was hilarious. I thought it was amazing.